Klaviyo is hands down the best e-commerce email marketing software for pretty much any e-commerce brand. And in this video I'm gonna show you how to exactly use it to make sure that you're making the most out of it. Starting off this video with just a very short discussion. I know there are a bunch of other tools that many people are using like OmniSend, MailChimp, SendLane, and all of these are valid, but they're not the best. And I know that a lot of people are saying that okay, Klaviyo is maybe a little bit too expensive or hard to use, where when it comes to how easy it is to use, this video is gonna help you understand it 100%, but when it comes to the cost, it might be a little bit more expensive than the competitors. But I mean, if a tool allows you to generate 10x more revenue or even twice as much revenue as the other platform, then the cost itself is justified and easily covered by just sending a few extra emails. That's my take, and I fully recommend that you go with Klaviyo because it is the best tool out there. Plus they've got huge partnership with Shopify. Shopify is sponsoring them, so I guess the product development will only get better over time. That's why if you want to set up your foundations for e-commerce email marketing, do it with Klaviyo, and I'm not affiliated with them by any means. It's just I use it for all my clients. I always migrate them from different tools, like OmniSend and others, to Klaviyo and or Klaviyo, like whatever you call it, just because we're getting the best results there pretty much. So starting off with the absolute basics, we're gonna cover how to install the Klaviyo, and then I'm gonna go through 5 of the most important email marketing elements. First one being deliverability, then sign-up forms, then of course flows, campaigns, and segmentation. So let's get right into it. First off, you wanna install the Klaviyo. So if you're browsing for a Shopify store or WooCommerce or BigCommerce, you just go to the App Store, or if you're using WooCommerce, you're gonna need to install the plugin. But just type in Klaviyo or Klaviyo, you just need to go in and then just simply click on install. It's gonna ask you for the some other questions like if you wanna grant permissions to charge you and so on, the pricing, everything like that. Okay, so this is the store that I already had integrated before. If you'll be creating a new store, you're essentially gonna need to fill out your store name as well as your email sender address and your business information so that they can put it inside the emails, but also just fill out the billing page. Then you just click on integrate and you connect it with your Shopify store. As you can see, this is my demo store. We've just connected it to Klaviyo, so it works very, very well. It's taking a little bit to load, and I mean that's fine sometimes because it's gonna be just syncing up all the information. As you can see right now, it says that all the information has been updated, which is exactly what we want. And now there are a few important things. So the first thing they're gonna see is them asking you if you're using the on-site tracking. I'm gonna show you how to do it inside Shopify. So you just go to your Shopify, you go to online store, themes, then you click on customize, you go to theme settings, app embeds actually, and you may want to make sure that this part is turned on. If it's turned off, you can always toggle it off and on, but make sure it is saved, and then you should be good to go. I'm just gonna refresh because Klaviyo doesn't okay, now it works fine. Make sure that this box is ticked on. Sometimes it'll be looking like that when it's empty. Make sure it's filled out and ticked off. Then you'll be tracking some events, which I'm gonna explain later on what these are. And yeah, you wanna sync your Shopify subscribers to Klaviyo. Just select one of the lists. Your newsletter is fine, or you can create a separate list, which I'm also gonna show you how to do soon. And then you just click on update settings. Yep, you're gonna click on update integration, and then you should be good to go. Then you can go to your settings, and you're gonna have a bunch of different settings essentially. So this is the information that you're filling out at the very beginning, which as I mentioned before, it was skipped for me because I had this Klaviyo account set up before. But you're gonna fill out all the information essentially for your business. Choose the language, time zone, as well as the industry and vertical, which isn't required from you. If you do it, they're gonna be giving you some kind of benchmarks, which also aren't 100% reliable, so that's not you don't have to do it. For the currency, just go with the one that you have on your Shopify store, and that's pretty much it. Actually, let me just go through it from the beginning. So whenever you have your homepage, this is the entire dashboard where you can see your store's revenue as well as the email revenue, and then you have a breakdown of campaigns revenue, flows revenue, email revenue, and SMS revenue. Right now it's showing conversion rate, but overall, once you're having more data, it's gonna show you revenue per recipient actually. I'm just gonna very quickly switch to one of the other accounts to show you what the dashboard with some data looks like. Okay, so this is one of our clients' accounts. As you can see, I've just selected the period when we started working with them, just also to show from our results, of course. But this is the dashboard, how it looks like. Here's the timeline where it's summarizing the performance. You can always customize it. So yeah, you can select custom, today, week to date, month to date, last 7 days, 30 days, and so on. And comparison period. Comparison period is going to be comparing this period, this initial time period, to the period that you want to select. So in this case, let's say I selected custom time period from April to August. So it's, I believe, 5 months. If you're going to leave it as previous period, it's going to compare this period that we're seeing here to the previous 5 months counting from April backwards, right? So it would be March, February, January. It would be from November to March, essentially, okay? But you can also do previous year or custom, where you can once again just select custom time period to compare the data. That's a very brief explanation of what it looks like. Once again, as you can see, it's showing us revenue per recipient in total. So this is not per campaign, this is not per flow, this is per whole account, right? Campaigns, once again, it's showing the percentage and then total revenue. Same goes for flows, and then the breakdown between email and SMS. Once you have some of the flows set up, it's gonna start showing you every single flow and revenue per every single flow. It shows how many people are entering, where deliveries is not exactly how many people are entering, but how many people are entering multiplied by the amount of people entering your flows. So let's say we're having in this flow, for example, 3 emails, and we're seeing to almost 30k deliveries, then it means that 10k people entered the flow and it's just showing as 30k recipients, but in reality you're gonna need to actually check for unique recipients later on. Then you can see the revenue, revenue per recipient and percentage change. If you're comparing some data to previous periods, like for example monthly, you're gonna see the performance of every single flow, if it's up or down and stuff like that. Then once you scroll down, you're gonna see some of the campaigns, showing you pretty much the results per campaign. And everything you need to know. Like once again, very brief summary from Klaviyo, which is pretty cool. Now going back to the demo account, I'm just gonna break down every single stage from Klaviyo one by one. And as I mentioned at the very beginning, the most important one is deliverability. And I'm also gonna call it as a setup. So there are a few things I need to keep remember. First one is having custom sending domain. The second one, having correct DNS records. So we're gonna start off and select and set up a new custom domain from Klaviyo. You can just click on the left hand side on your brand's name, then click on settings. They're gonna need to go to domains. Okay, it's taking a little bit, but as you can see, we've got the sending domain over here. Overall, I'm gonna remove it right now, just for the purpose of this video, but always make sure that once you set it up, you don't need to do it again. It's just one time thing only. Okay, so you need to click on connect a new domain. As you can see, like my brand, this brand's Java brand's name is peaknature.co, the root domain, which is the URL you're using for your brand. So I'm gonna click on next. Then for sending domain, you can select anything like send, team, or anything. And essentially when you send an email, it's gonna show, it's not sender's email address, it's sender's email domain, which are two entirely different things. For this one, it doesn't really matter because people are mostly gonna see your sender's email address, for example, support@peaknature.co and so on. I always go with send or like team or hi or campaigns, but send is 100% fine. Then you can go between dynamic and static. Both of these are honestly fine. But you can go with dynamic. I also like do both because back in the day Klaviyo was having only static. Right now I believe dynamic is a little bit more optimized, a little bit better. So just go with dynamic, then you're gonna click on next, then you can select your DNS provider, which is not required, right? I mean for my draft brands, I'm using Namecheap, I believe, but for any other domain you use, doesn't really matter. You can just select others, and then you click on next, and then you're gonna need to add these DNS records, right? So I'll just quickly pull up the Namecheap account to show you how to do it. Okay, so as you can see, we're in our Namecheap account. You can just go to type in your domain name. If you have more domains, it's gonna be easier to find it. If you have just one, that's fine as well. Make sure you're in the domain list view, then you click on manage, then you go to advanced DNS, and then you're gonna see a bunch of host records that you're gonna need to add, okay? So when you go back to Klaviyo, type is gonna be ns, then send. You're gonna just create some of these. Okay, as you can see, we have added all of the DNS records that they ask us to do. So then you just click on save all changes. And sometimes it can take a little bit just to verify the domain. Like it might not be right away. I have had cases where it took us like 30 minutes, 1 hour, maybe a few hours, the worst case. But overall, once you click on verify, as you can see, it's gonna take a few minutes. and then you should be all set. And once again, I mentioned that it doesn't really matter where or which domain provider you're using. Let's say that this is my my agency's dashboard where we have the event mail domain, right? And it looks essentially the same for every single one. So you just go to your domain, then you click on DNS records, and then you just play with these and add them and change them. Like for example, here it would be custom records. You would once again click on add record, and then you have a bunch of types. Sometimes just the UI UX changes, but overall this is the same thing. So you'll figure it out for sure. If you want, then you can just always type in your domain provider name and DNS record setup and Google it. Like it's gonna show you everything you need to know. Okay, as you can see, the domain has been already activated or verified, because actually after it's verified, you need to remember that you always have to activate it, right? And this is pretty much it. Okay, now that we are done with the custom sending domain, which is the first step for good deliverability, the other one is adding DMARC record, which you can pretty much get from here, and you just need to change this email address, right? Like this would be your domain's DMARC record. Again, is very important to do it. It will be, you can do it within the Namecheap once again. I'm just gonna quickly show you how. So we are once again in our DNS records. You just click on add new record, and then it would be, I believe, a TXT record, right? And then you're selecting different values for every single field. So here it would be DMARC, yeah, just like that. And then VDMARC PNAM. I mean, you can just like Google it. Like pretty much, it's very very basic, and like anyone can Google DMARC record, and you're gonna get the entire formula. But you can also pause the video and just copy paste it, or you can go to mxtoolbox.com, type in my agency's domain name, or whichever other brand you like, and they should have DMARC record set up. Just one thing is that after this DMARC and the dash, you're gonna need to add email address. It can be like a spam email address that you're using. Like I have one that I haven't opened in like 3 years, and this is which I'm like usually inserting, because you're gonna be getting a ton of reports from them, which can be spammy. It can be annoying if you're using on a daily basis. So just use some kind of email that you're not using, like I don't know, spam test at gmail.com, and I don't copy paste it, right? But just enter your email address that you're not using anymore, because otherwise you're gonna get annoyed with the amount of emails you're getting, and the volume is just going to be huge. So this is pretty much it for the domain reputation you're going to need to set up. The other tool that I recommend setting up, it's like an external tool for Postmaster tools within Google. It's a great tool. It's also very simple to do it. You're going to need it to verify your deliverability per email domain. So you're going to just type in postmaster.google.com, then you're going to click on plus, then you're going to select your domain. Like for example peaknature.co, right, like my draft brand's domain. Then we're gonna get once again DNS record. We're gonna it's gonna be TXT, so we're gonna make a use of it. We're gonna leave it at add. Sometimes it's also gonna be empty, and then just click on save changes. And Gmail, I mean, I had cases where Postmaster tools wouldn't verify the domain for quite a while, like sometimes even 2 days. And as you can see, if you're having some troubles, you can also add a CNAME record, which is essentially the same thing. But I also had cases where we actually like deleted the record and added it from scratch once again, and it worked. So there's really not like one recipe for it, but just try. Sometimes it might take you a few times or like a few tries, since it's not gonna be updated live. Usually it's a few minutes. Like if after 15 minutes it doesn't work, then you can just select the other verification method, which is CNAME record. As you can see, it's already verified. So yeah, while I've been talking, it's been a few minutes. And then after you start sending your campaigns, important thing is not going to be for flows, it's going to be for campaigns. You're going to be able to track a bunch of metrics that are very important. Look at the spam rate. Google doesn't allow anything higher than 0.3% spam rate. IP reputation, domain reputation, both should be high. And then for feedback loop and authentication, you can always keep checking if all of your DNS records are set up correctly. Right now there's nothing to display because I haven't been sending campaigns, plus we have just added the domain to Postmaster tools. But once you start getting more data, you're gonna see what it looks like. I'm also gonna show you one of the examples from one of my clients, just very briefly. As you can see, sometimes the authentication might fail, which, we are not changing anything. It just could be something wrong with the policy or with people that are sending emails or anything. Then you have feedback loop, domain reputation, which is, constantly high, which is great. Then you have IP reputation, which is high. And then you have spam rate, which once again should be below 0.3%. So for example, on this account, everything is looking great. You can also look at encryption, which also should be constant. Delivery errors for any weird happenings. We had like one big blast on there, so probably there's something off with just spammy email addresses. Sometimes brands, or I'm not brands but competitors, will keep adding like false email addresses that bounce to your email list, just to kind of give you bot traffic, which worsens your deliverability. But overall, if it's like a one-time thing, and you can also change timeframes, then it's nothing to worry about. I mean, you can see that within the last 90 days, we had only like 2 cases, maybe 3, where like a bigger one was just recently. But other than that, it's been pretty stable, which is pretty cool. So that's pretty much all you need for deliverability, which is very, very key when you're starting out. Once you set up this custom sending domain, one thing I would recommend you do is start sending slowly campaigns to highly engaged segments using plain text emails only. Going back to Klaviyo, the other part I mentioned, which is like a pillar of email marketing, are sign-up forms, which are essentially tools for building your email list. Okay, so right now I have some like draft sign-up forms, but if you're gonna have nothing, you're gonna just click on create form. You're gonna select any of the pop-ups that you like. To be honest, like it doesn't really matter because you can fully customize them later on. I usually just start with this one, I believe. Like it doesn't really matter. You can have teaser, make sure you select your email list as well as SMS list, and then you create form. And then, like I mentioned, you can fully customize the offer. Right now you can't see any pop-up because within these settings it's showing teaser, which is like this small thing in the bottom left corner. But once again, you can also customize it. It can be a circle, it can be a corner, a rectangle. You can change the position, which is also important because, for example, on mobile, I'm seeing a lot of brands having it display at the very bottom. If someone has sticky add to cart button, this teaser is hovering that, which means that people can't add to cart using the sticky add to cart button because this button or actually teaser is hovering it. So make sure that you have it right. Even if it's like in the left corner on mobile, it's still displaying where usually brands have sticky add to cart. So for mobile, it's always cool to have it like a circle or maybe corner. Both of these work. Then you can also fully customize what's being said within the teaser. It can be like free gift, right? You can say like 15% off, maybe early access. Okay, there's like really a lot of things you can do. You can also customize the font over here. Then you can obviously make it bold, underlined, italic as well. You can change the size. You can change the text color, like for example red, or let's make it black for the purpose of this video. And then you can have like drop shadow, which is like around the circle or the teaser essentially. As you can see, if you don't have it, it kind of blends, so it's cool to have it. And then for background color, I mean, quite self-explanatory. You can just play with it as much as you want to make sure that it's looking fine. And always obviously adjust it to your brand's colors to make sure that it's completely on brand and not off brand. For margins, you're just gonna play with them because you can just, it won't work that well on mobile. I believe you would need to add like quite a lot of margin to actually move it, but you can keep adding margins, so it's like, pretty much you can have it anywhere you want, right? Usually 2020 I believe is fine, especially on desktop. Of course, in this case I will make it a little bit bigger since it's like all barely fitting the copy. Right now the copy feels perfectly, which is fine. For the teaser, the option should be after form is closed. You don't want to display it before. That's gonna be fine. Okay, so that was the teaser. You can always delete it as well, but from my experience it's good to have it, as it increases the conversion rate after someone even closes it by mistake, or maybe someone needs more time to go through your store and then make a decision if they want to buy or not. So yeah, that's why I would recommend going with that. Then for email opt-in, I mean, this one is pretty simple, to be honest. You can actually use this layout on desktop especially. You can just replace any image with your brand's image, right? Like in this case, we would use something like this. We would do contain, so it's not like, fully, it's not like fully cut out. So we want to do contain, and then you can play with it. In this case, it would be actually maybe a little bit better to have a different format. So maybe the image would be here. Let me actually change it in style. So no side image. We could do limited time only, 10% off, and then you can drag and drop the image here. So there's really a lot you can do with that to make sure that it's looking fine. Okay, in this case, it's not looking fine because it's too small, as you can probably tell. But yeah, overall, I don't like also using images too much. I mean, you could probably like do it way better than I'm doing it right now, just because I'm doing it like live. But yeah, if you really want to have side image, just make sure you crop it correctly. So if you want to use this one, you would need to crop it a little bit more, or like even make it custom, right? And then play with the width to make sure it looks fine. Okay, So once again, if you have side image, you can also maybe make it small or make it a little bit bigger. Once again, you just want to make sure that actually this one wouldn't be, I mean, yeah, it would be a little bit too big, but I mean, you get the point. You can just play with that as much as you want. At least on desktop, on mobile, I don't recommend doing images that much. Usually, from what I found, converts the best is having like the offer, so like limited time off, 10% off, and then some kind of copy. Then you have your email input field, and then your button. Make sure that you're submitting it to the right list. For source, I also like to add like a discount or something. So for example, I will make it 10% off, just because if you're gonna test any other offers in the future, it's gonna allow you to easily split test it in the flows using this custom property. That's why it's so important. And of course, for every single part of the drag and drop editor, you can change the copy, you can change the color, you can change the font, anything else, padding, margins, and so on and so on. Then you have the other step, which is SMS. In this case, I will probably make it like that. So this button is bigger, first of all, because it's too small right now. So you need to make it stretch just like that. And yeah, overall, you wanna have SMS always. You can't have it as like obligatory thing. It has to be optional, because otherwise you are gonna have a huge drop off on this stage. So a lot of brands won't have this part, which is no, I don't want texts, but you still want to have it. Because if someone is not interested in SMS, then that's fine. Usually I drag the disclaimer at the very bottom, make sure you actually added it, and enter your company name, but then also link your privacy policy and terms. Then for send, you want to make sure that you're having the right list. So as you saw, this one was for newsletter, because these are email contacts. This one is for phone numbers, so it's being added to SMS subscribers. But if someone says no, you can either close form, or what I like to do is also submit form, but then if they decline and don't wanna receive your texts, you're just selecting other list, which was the same as your email list right there. And then if they click no thanks, you can still display the thank you page. For example, in this case, it's talking about confirming subscription, but if someone is not subscribing to your phone number, to your SMS list, then you would kind of delete it, and you would have like, thanks for signing up, check your inbox for the discount code, make sure to check out all your folders, and you can say promotion tab and spam as well. Right, obviously you would need to word it better, like check out all your folders. Sometimes our emails land in spam, so make sure you check it out, stuff like that. What you can also do is add a coupon code over there. So it's not allowed. Yeah, okay, it's allowing me to do it. You would just add the coupon over there, and I mean you can use a static coupon, like for example, welcome 10, okay, and then anyone that copies that, they're gonna be able to click on it after they fill out the sign up form and copy and paste it at the checkout. What you can also do is add another button, which is also one of my preferred ways, because you can do you can have both, so the coupon code and the button, but what you can do is you can delete the code block, and then you can have the go to URL. And then, as you remember, my brand's domain is peaknature.co. What you can do is you can create a custom dynamic link that automatically applies the discount at checkout. So in this case, you just do /discount / for example, welcome 10. And if we leave it like that, once someone clicks on get 10% off auto applied at checkout, right? Once someone clicks on this, they're gonna be directed to the home page. But if you want to redirect them to any kind of product page, you just do a question mark, redirect, equals / and then for example products, and then or product. I remember if it's products or product. I mean, you can just go to your website and copy it essentially. So what I would do is I would just go to my store, this page, and yeah, you could just copy this part, right? Morning gummies. Okay, and then once you copy and paste it, as you can see, it's redirecting correctly, and then it's gonna add the code at checkout, which is great because it's like super simple. It's auto-applied, which is the most important thing, just removing the friction from people. So this is how the best tool for building your email list and how to do it with the sign-up forms in Klaviyo. What you also can do is add forms to the website, which are like embedded sign-up forms. So if you go to create form, you just click on embed, for example, and then you can just drag and drop it on your homepage, for example. You just create, and you can also customize it any way you want, and then you can insert it pretty much over here, right? Like you would just need to paste it within your Shopify code, and then you would be able to use it, which is also pretty cool because it's like just a little bit more customizable compared to this one, which is coming from Shopify email. And in this case, as you can see, you can also display the coupon coping thing, which is great. You also have different forms of sign-up forms like full page, flyout, pop-up. Usually I do either pop-up or full page. These also work very, very well. It's very interesting because in this case, people, it's very not harder for them to fill it out or like close it, but they're more likely to do it from what I've seen. Like not always, but sometimes it works super well where you they can't see your store, they're just seeing this pop-up, which has like their full attention, and that's why they're more likely to do it. But this is just another thing, and I mean with the pop-ups you can really play quite a lot. One more important thing is targeting and behavior. So you never want to do immediate pop-up. You want to make it either based on rules or custom trigger, which you will need to custom code. Usually we just do based on rules. For desktop only pop-ups, you can just select this. So when someone is dragging the mouse out of the window, it's gonna trigger. But once again, this is desktop only. So once you have this pop-up ready, you would clone it and then you would change the settings to time delay and scroll percentage. Usually we like to start with 8 seconds on the website and 60% scroll, or even 10 seconds on the website. It's very healthy. It's not like immediate pop-up where you're kind of attacking them. So make sure that you do it. For frequency, we don't like to display it more often than 7 days. And for display devices, once again, if you have exit intent on desktop only, then on mobile it would be this. If you have it on desktop, make sure you deselect this because you don't want to have this option. In this case, if someone would click over here, they would close the pop-up and you would still have teaser, so they would still be able to get the discount code, in this case 10% off. But if you didn't have it and they would close it by mistake, they wouldn't be able to get it. That's why you want to make sure that both of these are selected off. So then if someone doesn't want it, they just click on X, and this is the only way to decline the discount. That's about it for the display and for targeting. You don't want to show to existing Klaviyo profiles. There are some cases where it makes sense to. For example, during Black Friday, we are gonna show the custom pop-ups to existing Klaviyo profiles without collecting their phone number. You can also use this to show to all visitors or to your existing profiles to collect more data from them, like zero-party data, for example, what you're struggling with, what's your gender, what's your age, stuff like that. Then you can show or hide on different URLs. So for example, you want to hide it on your cart page, right? Or maybe you want to hide it on your blog page because you want to display a different pop-up over there. So you can play with that a little bit. Whenever you do it, make sure that you always go back and then you click on publish after it's live, right? Like make also sure that you are seeing when it was saved the last time. It's very important. You don't want to lose all your progress for nothing pretty much. So that was it about the pop-ups. Once again, it's the best tool to build your email list out there. So make sure that you enter them, create them, and then run multiple A/B tests. For example, test your offer, test your copy, test your design. There are a lot of things that play a role in this, but you can easily boost your sign-up form conversion rate by testing these things. So this was the first pillar of the second pillar of the email marketing after deliverability. Now let's go to flows. So flows, essentially, they're not needed. Like you don't need them per se, because anything that you're achieving with your flows could be achieved with one of sends, also called as campaigns. The problem with that is that you would need to send this manually, which would be like a daunting task. You would need to be monitoring your Klaviyo 24/7. Doesn't really make sense. That's why flows exist. So instead of you or someone else spending the entire day and night in your Klaviyo account to manually send emails, you're having flows. They're like automated sequences that send emails to particular people. The core of every single flow is trigger. So trigger means that, okay, what is causing this flow to essentially launch or start? And if you go to your analytics tab, if you expand it, you can go to metrics. Metrics are events essentially happening on your website, which are directly synced with Shopify or WooCommerce or any other platform for e-commerce that you're using. One of the key missing metrics over here is added to cart metric, which should be showing up here. But if you want to have it, you would need to manually install it in your Shopify store. If you don't know how to do it, I have an entire video which takes 8 minutes. You can watch it right now. It's gonna show up somewhere on the screen. You can watch this video and add this trigger because it's gonna help you double the abandoned checkout rate. A lot of people think that abandoned checkout flow or abandoned cart flow is this one, which is technically Klaviyo's default, but it's not. You need to have a custom trigger, so make sure you do it. We had one client that implemented that, and we made them like 50k extra revenue just 1 month. So make sure that you for sure do it. It's very important and takes only 8 minutes, so it's definitely a good ROI on your time. But going back to flows, you want to select trigger. Okay, we're not doing it from the metrics side, but speaking of metrics, you can always select any metric you want, and you can see what's going on lifetime. Okay, so anytime or date range you want to, you're gonna be able to see this. Clicks email, opens email, like all of this is empty just because I haven't been using this account because it's once again a demo account. Plus it's just been connected to Shopify, but overall you're gonna see this data, and then you also have like activity feed, so you're gonna see be happening events one by one. Then you have cohorts, best people, and stuff like that. So there really you can do. Best people are just people that have essentially triggered specific metric the most times. Okay, so these are metrics. Going back to flows, you really want to set them up, and I have like entire playlist about Klaviyo flows and how to set them up. What they are, what are the proper structures, and I'm giving you also examples of particular emails within every single flow. So you just watch this playlist, check out all these videos, and you're gonna see them one by one. You just select any specific flow that is interesting for you and check out the video. But in general, if you want to create any flow, essentially, you go to flows, you go to create flow. You have some pre-built flows, which are okay to base off of. For example, if we wanted to abandon cart flow, like I told you, we could select this, and once again, you can see that it's being, the trigger is checkout started. So I'm actually gonna show it, call it abandon checkout. You can also tag your flows, not necessary, but you can, just for like further reporting to make everything easier. Okay, it has loaded, so that's pretty much it. Now that you have the flow, it's drag and drop builder. Explaining a little bit this part, you don't change the trigger. You can play with trigger filters and profile filters. These two aren't necessary, or at least trigger filters, they are fine in some cases, but in the majority of the cases, the only thing you're gonna need are gonna be profile filters. So for example, for abandoned checkout flow, you don't want anyone who, started the checkout and placed an order. That wouldn't make sense. But you also don't want to be sending this flow to person that, for example, was starting checkout every single day. They would be annoyed getting the same email day by day, so just don't do it. That's why we have this filter, and then you can keep adding other filters. Like for example, if you have abandoned cart flow, you would exclude anyone who has started checkout since starting this flow or in the last 1 day, for example, right? This would be for abandoned cart flow, like additional filter, and for every other flow you would need to play with these as well to make sure that they are not overlapping each other. Then you have time delay, so this is how much time it takes for this automation, for this flow to send an email after someone took a specific action or triggered a specific event, okay? You can also make it days, minutes, there's a lot you can do with that. I usually go with just 1 hour and that's it. Then you have also conditional splits, which you can also see right here. You can drag and drop them. Usually you can use them actually quite a lot if you do it the right way. For example, if someone can receive SMS or not, but also based on someone's specific actions. So if someone has checkout started at least once in the last 1 day, let's say, or like, I usually like to go a little bit more in terms of time frames, even though it was like 1 hour before, just to make sure that Klaviyo filters are picking it up the right way. So you would, for example, select people that have checkout where the value of their entire cart is over $200, and then you can do a split path based on their AOV or their checkout value to, for example, show them free shipping or show them some kind of discount and stuff like that. Really helpful. Make sure that you also know how to use them. Once again, I have a bunch of videos on flows, so once you check them out, you're gonna understand everything. For SMS, it's quite easy to edit the entire content. Make sure that you have quiet hours. You don't want to be paying any fines, essentially. For flows like abandoned checkout, I don't like skipping recently message profiles, which is also called or referred to as smart sending. This feature is available for both email and SMS, but usually for these critical flows, I turned it off to make sure that I'm not skipping any essential emails. You can turn on your UTM tracking, and you can also make it custom, whether it's here or within your Klaviyo settings, but you can just use the default ones and that's it. For every single message, you can also use the same filters that we're creating on the flow level. It's just up to you where you want to create them, or maybe some specific emails are going to have specific filters. So we always want to make sure that you're checking them out. Then for the content itself, just click on edit. Okay, so right now I didn't launch SMS for the brand, that's why like it took me out, took me back. But overall, you're just gonna edit the message and then hit save, and that's it. As you can see, for the checkout itself, this is like a dynamic string, which is taking someone directly to their checkout. It's not like creating or taking them to the cart page or product page. This is the dynamic checkout, and it's taking them where they left. So if someone, let's say you have 3-stage checkout and someone has given you their shipping information but didn't choose the shipping option and paid yet, it's gonna take them to the second page of your custom 3-page checkout, and they're gonna have this information already filled out, which makes it easier for them to finish shopping with you. For email, it's quite simple. Make sure that you have these options done right in the organization, which is your sender name and your sender email address. And once again, this is something I said about sending domains, where sender email address doesn't equal to custom sending domain. Because when you send an email, we're gonna see this email, not the custom domain we're setting up. I mean, they're gonna see it, but not like right away. They would need to kind of dig within the Gmail to actually see it. For reply to emails, you can also make it different. So for example, maybe you're sending it from your personal email. So let's say I'm sending it as Conrad, and then reply to, I want it to be team@peaknature.co, right? So then I'm sending it from this email, but if someone replies to email directly, all the replies will be redirected to this email address, which is pretty cool. Then obviously this is where you enter the subject line and preview text. Once you're done with all the changes, make sure you hit save. Alright, then you can also customize your templates or edit your emails, right? One tip I have for you, which is the deliverability tip, is whenever you have an email, make sure that you have all of your elements within one section. And I'm going to show you why. There's something like an email size. In this case, it's 30 kilobytes. And now let's see what happens when we actually drag and drop everything into one section. Like, I'm not deleting content per se. As you can see, all of the elements are the same, but they're within one section. Email size is now 25 kilobytes, which is smaller, which is better for deliverability. One thing I don't like to do as well is having social links. They might increase the email size in some cases, just because there's like a lot of links and icons. In this case, they didn't, which is great. Then you have a header bar, which can also replace with your logo. You can just customize the text. Right now we need to double click on that, and then you can select anything you want, like different font, make it bold, make it italic, strike through, underline, whatever. You can change the colors as well. Add personalization, so for example, the first name, right? And then for default, like for example, friend or there. There are many cases where people use hey first name, and then people that didn't insert their first name, it's like empty. So it looks like hey space and then comma. So you don't want to do it. You want to do like hey and then have a default like hey there or hey friend or hey you or hey there is usually pretty fine, and then comma, right? This is why it's super important, because otherwise it's just not gonna look too well. I mean, you're gonna see the preview like hey Conrad, okay, but if you didn't have the name, it would show up hey there, which is great. This table is dynamic for the checkout itself. Abalone checkout is probably the only flow you're gonna use this kind of dynamic table, because aside from that, you can use dynamic tables, which you're gonna see within the email builder. So you have drag and drop builder, which is honestly super simple. You have text, image split, which allows you to split the columns and have different content, like you would have an image here and text here, just to make your emails look better. Then you have buttons, which are quite self-explanatory, but you also have a header bar where you can have like multiple images tagged. You can keep adding links and images and so on. I honestly don't use it too often, just for the NPS flow. And there's a bunch of other things like divider, social links, which is something I've deleted before, spacers, products, which is also cool to show. You can have dynamic section or static section. These are great. In some cases, they might do wonders. If you have a lot of SKUs, Klaviyo's AI works pretty well, so we can just use that to show recommended products based on someone's history, and so on and so forth. You can also do the table. You can also do video, which is actually quite new. Back in the day, you couldn't do video where you would just put in the URL, but yeah, that's a new feature, but great that you're, developing their platform. It's awesome. And then for sections, I'm not gonna really talk much about them, because once again, I recommend you have all your content within one section. One of the other tips for deliverability I have is that usually we just like to have Image-based emails, only images. So we're not doing like image, then text from the Klaviyo blog. We like to stick to as few images as possible and as few blocks as possible to boost deliverability. And that works well for us. We're getting very good open rates. So that's just one tip for you. Once you're done with editing your flow and your email, just click on preview and then you're going to see the entire content. If you have, for example, a blog that you like to use over and over again, you can also mark it start and then you can call it checkout. And then after you're done, on the left hand side you're going to see universal and then you can just drag and drop this content inside any email you want to. Usually it's cool to use it for the unsubscribe section. So once again you would just double click. I believe it's unsubscribe, just like that. I'm not 100% sure though, but I think it's like that. But yeah, as you can see, it's just unsubscribe, and you could save this section, and then whenever you're creating an email, you kind of just drag and drop it, right? Something like this, so that people can easily unsubscribe. I would mark it, I would make it as unsubscribe footer. And then whenever I'm creating an email, instead of doing it from scratch, you would go to universal, select this block and just drag and drop it like you would normally do. Then you have also styles, which is not something you're gonna use too often. Like for example, you can edit this background color, right? Like sometimes it's cool when your brand is super onto the colors and like super colorful and so on. You can edit that, but majority of the cases like gray is gonna work fine. You can also use an image to have it as a background. We also don't do it quite often. Once again, if your brand is like super flashy and so on, then it makes sense to do it. For the width, honestly, we don't ever change it as well. That margin top, it's like the part above the email, so we can also make it 0, but then it looks kind of weird, so 10 is usually good. It used to be 50, I believe, as default, which is quite high, but 10 is fine. And then you can also play with currency and like different settings for the text blocks, but once again, we're not using this much, just because we are either selling plain text emails or design-based emails with images. That's pretty much it about the flows. Once you're done, you just click on exit, then you click on done. And when you decide that, okay, your flow is ready to go, you have all your emails set up, you have correct time delays and everything, you just click on update action statuses, live, and you're gonna launch them. Of course, right now it's not gonna let me because I don't have SMS. But yeah, overall, it's currently live. You can also show analytics and then select the period that you wanna see the data for, last 90 days, last 30 days. You can also select custom, doesn't really matter. What you can also do is, for example, we do it quite often for the customer win-back flow, where you set up a flow and the time delay is 45 days. You don't have to wait entire 45 days to see people receiving your emails. You can start and make them receive them right now. The way you do it is you go to the right hand corner, click on manage flow and then add past profiles. What it's gonna do, it's gonna add all the profiles based on their current place in the flow. Let's say someone bought from you 15 days ago and your time delay for customer win-back flow is 30 days. Normally they wouldn't even be in this flow, but if you click on this, it's gonna take 15 days for them to start receiving this flow. If someone bought from you 30 or 29 days ago, they're gonna receive the email today or tomorrow. That's why you need to remember it's very important for flows that have very long time delays. But honestly, whenever you set it up, it's very cool, like for any flow, just to click on this and then immediately have people entering the flow. Very cool. That was about the flows, which was the third pillar of email marketing. We've already covered deliverability, sign-up forms, and flows. Now we have two pillars left, segments and campaigns. Before I do that, I want to cover also like other parts of Klaviyo. So first one being content, where you just have multiple templates from Klaviyo. You can also save your own templates. We don't have any because we didn't save them, but after you're done creating an email, you can select 3 dots in the right upper corner and then save it as a template and then reuse it for other campaigns, and then your universal content, which are saved blocks. Then you have products, so essentially any products that you have on your website. Same goes for categories, and it's cool when creating a product feed like this one. Then you have images, which are all your pretty much assets, but also your logo, your colors, your fonts, anything like that. Then for coupons, if you're using custom coupons, like dynamic ones, this is where you would create them. For starting ones, it also works a similar way. Then you also have analytics, which dashboard is probably gonna be one of the most important parts. You're gonna see all of the data that you want to. There are different dashboards that you can use. You can also create your own dashboards. All of these are great. Make sure that you're using them. You can just add a new card and you can either select pre-made template for you, like for example SMS funnel summary, or deliverability, or conversion by channel, or anything else really, even flows volume. There's really a lot you can do with that. Even your list growth chart, that's awesome. But you can also select it from scratch, and then you're selecting any metric. Like for example, I was talking about unique recipients. So you do received email, then counts, it's just like showing people. Unique counts is unique profiles, which is something we want. We don't want average, like this is summed up, this is average, this is unique profiles. So we can do unique profiles and then number, and then you would have unique number of people who received your email. You can also then edit it and, for example, make a dashboard or a card with custom people, or like not custom but unique or email opens, which is also very important because quite often there are a lot of people who are opening your emails over and over again, but these are not unique profiles. These are the same people, which means that essentially you're not targeting anyone new. Experiments, this is where all your A/B tests are gonna show up. Very useful feature because whenever you're running a test, you can just quickly go over here, check out the results after clicking on specific test and finishing it. That's great. Then for the metrics, I already covered them. Benchmarks, I honestly don't think they are that reliable, just because an industry benchmark, it's like a questionable topic. Every single brand is different. Usually I don't recommend Klaviyo's benchmarks. Usually you want to be better than yourself a month ago or a year ago. Or if you're comparing yourself to others, make sure that you compare it to very similar brand in the same niche with the same customer profile as you, the same price point, the same AOV, acquisition channels, and so on and so on. There are just so many metrics outside of email that make an impact, and that's why I don't like this benchmarks tab. I mean, it's cool just to see what's going on, but overall, make sure that you're always being better as your own brand. Or if you're comparing yourself to others, make sure that it's a relevant comparison. For example, if you have someone in the baby niche, maybe they're selling trolleys for babies, and maybe someone is selling pacifiers. It's gonna be a completely different story because it's a different AOV, different customer profile. And for example, when you're selling higher AOV product, for example, 400, 500 bucks, revenue per recipient is always gonna be higher than when you're selling products for $20. That is how it is. And that's why I'm saying comparing yourself to industry benchmarks isn't always relevant. You can have supplements selling for $15 per bottle. You can have the same supplement selling for $90 per bottle, and bundling them all together. That's why it's not always good to compare yourself with others. Not everyone is your competitor pretty much. That's my point. Then for deliverability, it's also a very, very good tab. You can just see what's your deliverability score. I wouldn't get too crazy over it because it's just showing you once again your average metrics like open rate, click rate, and stuff like that. But overall, pretty cool just to get a rough idea of what's going on with your deliverability. Then you can also have custom reports, which are also very helpful. You can have custom reports for flows, for campaigns. Usually we like to do one for flows. Currently, once again, it's a draft account, so I don't have this data, but when we do monthly reporting, we always use flows performance and also campaign performance, and you can pull a lot of data like revenue per recipient, which is like the basic one, unsubscribe rate, all of the data aggregated into one report, which makes it very easy for us to report to clients, but also analyze what's going on the account and how we can make it better. So these were the two other tabs I very briefly wanted to cover before moving on to two other parts or pillars of email marketing, which are segments and then campaigns. So going on to segments, I already covered growth tools, which are essentially like mainly pop-ups, SMS, adding people at checkout, and so on. Then we have lists and segments. Okay, we also have profiles, but this is like all your entire list of your profiles, and then you also have suppressed profiles, which is good for cleaning your list. If you want to clean your list, I also have a video showing you how to do it step by step with the flow, which is gonna be an automated process. It can actually help you save like thousands of dollars per month. We did it recently for one of our clients. We saved them like $200 in like 1 minute, just after 1 day of working with us. Like they onboarded us, we cleaned their list, and they're paying $200 less for Klaviyo. Like that's just very, very simple, and it's definitely worth it. Then we have segments and lists. These two are, I don't want to say they're the same, but one thing you need to remember is that lists are static and segments are dynamic. What it means that someone can be in multiple lists, okay, and someone can also be in multiple segments. But lists aren't gonna be changing in size unless you add them manually or unless someone signs up for your sign-up form or checkout or anything else. What it means is that if you have a list, people have certain ways they can get into it, and it's not changing based on the actions they have taken. Like after someone signs up to your email list, like to newsletter for example, there won't be more people, for example, today, and then different amount tomorrow if you won't be having any sign up form, okay? What I mean by that is, for example, let's say you don't have any sign up form on the website, and you're not collecting emails for checkout, and you have a list of 10,000 people. There, if we exclude all of the other ways that people can join your email list, this list won't be bigger than that, right? Like it won't be. But then let's say you have a segment of people who have opened your email, and your email list is not growing. If we keep sending this email to unengaged people who haven't opened your email, this segment will keep growing just because it's dynamic, right? So whenever someone takes specific action on your website, they're gonna be added to the segment. For example, this unengaged segment currently is empty because, once again, like demo account, no profiles inside. But if someone would have taken all of these actions, they would get added to this segment, right? If someone would have never opened an email in the last 90 days, they didn't click an email, but in total they have received 10 emails, but they haven't been on the website in the last 45 days, and they haven't placed an order in the last 45 days too. They would be put into this segment. But let's say tomorrow they place an order, which means that they will get out of this segment just because it's dynamic. If it was a list, they wouldn't get out of it. You would need to remove them manually, or they would need to unsubscribe. But with segments, they are dynamic. Like that's my point. And it's great because then you can just create multiple segments, which is also very simple. You can click top right corner, create a list or segment. When you're creating a list, test one, make sure you enter the name that you know what it is, not like I've done in this case. Then you go to settings, consent, and select single opt-in. This is hands down one of the most important things for the list growth. I'm seeing so many e-commerce brands running double opt-in, and by doing so you're essentially sabotaging your own email list because you're making it harder for people to subscribe to your emails, which is just terrible. So make sure that you have single opt-in. This is very, very important. But then if you want to create segment, you do it very, very similarly. You go to top right corner, create new, create segment. You name it, for example, non-buyers, and I'm naming it VM just because I've been doing it so many times that it's like a habit for me, which stands for our agency name. But overall, once again, non-buyers, and then you have conditions. First of all, someone has to be subscribed to email marketing, because email marketing can also add additional filter, because subscribed can also be subscribed for checkout, and so on and so on. Then you have and or, like they've changed the builder, but right now it's just switching the buttons, and or, and then you have, for example, placed order 0 times since it's gonna be non-buyers, right? And then once again, you're gonna create it, it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna populate. What you can do is you can go really deep with these segments, and like aside from this, that someone is on your email list because they've subscribed. Let's say you want to do a cross-sell campaign. You would do that they have placed their order at least once in the, let's say, 90 days, where the, for example, you normally have like a product, right? You would have a product and you would type in product A, and you would add another condition where, for example, they have placed order 0 times in the last 30 days. And this is kind of like buyer's win-back flow, right? With someone bought product A within the last 90 days, but they didn't buy anything in the last 30 days, which means that you can target them and get them to buy from you again. These are going to be extremely profitable purchases. So this is how our segments work. I'm going to have another video completely about segments. I'm going to show you which segments you should be using, along with the email examples. So make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to my channel because I'm going to be dropping this video and it's going to be super helpful, super valuable. This was the 4th pillar of email marketing. Now, last but not least is campaigns. As you can see, I already had a few drafts, but overall, the way you create campaign is very simple, but not easy. So click on create campaign, you name it whatever. Usually I like to do VM and then angle, let's say FAQ, and then segment, for example, engaged 90 or non-buyers in this case, and then when you're sending it, let's say 5th September 2024, okay? Then draft date, I mean you can always change it later on, but let's make it 5 for now. 5th, then email, and then you can also add tags, but you don't need to. Right now, this is where you select your email list that you send to. Let's say we're sending it to non-buyers, right? And then you also click on do not send to, because that's gonna exclude unengaged people. So we would, if you watch my other video about segmentation, you're gonna see that we have exclusions. like bounced profiles marked as spam and so on, suppression list, but also unengaged. Make sure you exclude all of them. If you would be sending to engaged 90 list or to your buyers, we also like to exclude buyers from the last 15 days, just so we're not getting any complaints like, hey, where is my order? You keep emailing me, but you still haven't delivered it yet. So you want to make sure you're excluding the right profiles. For smart sending, usually I have it turned on unless this is like a huge sale. Like for example, yesterday we had Labor Day. So for all Labor Day sale campaigns, I would turn this off because I want everyone to see it. Regardless if someone is in the welcome flow or not, I want them to see it, even if they received some kind of email from the flow within the last 3 hours, let's say, or 12 hours, right? I want to make sure they're getting the email. Then you can also turn on the UTMs and then you move on. Subject line preview text, similarly to like with the flows, you just type in like Labor Day sale is live, for example, 40% off today only, okay? And then you don't need to save it, it's gonna save itself, you're gonna see it in the right top corner. And then you're gonna create either email from scratch, or you can once again just select the templates. Let's for now select create blank email. You're gonna have once again the same drag and drop editor, which you can use just similarly to like you've done within the flows. Once you're done with everything, make sure you preview it, you check all the links, all the buttons, and after you're good to go, click on done. Click on next. This one is okay because once again, like it's empty email, so that's fine. But I'm just actually put some copy. Okay, click on next, and then you're gonna see a very brief summary of everything. And then after you are done, you're gonna click on schedule or send. You're gonna select when you want to send it. You're gonna select the day, the exact hour, and then you're gonna click on schedule campaign. What you can also do is once you have bigger email list, you can do gradual send or like test throughout the day when you send one campaign throughout entire 24 hours, and it's gonna show you which times are the best for your account, which is great to do because once you're starting off with the campaigns, it's an easy way just to figure out when you should be sending them and what's working the best for you. What you can also do is set up multiple A/B tests, both within flows and campaigns. Let me just quickly edit the message. Okay, these are email currently, but let's say you want to create an A/B test. You just click on create A/B test. You can also test send times, then you're selecting the variables here, and then you want me to select the send time later on. But let's say we're testing content, for example, different subject lines. You would just select different content. You can be testing multiple things like subject lines, like sender names. So for example, Conrad from Peak Nature, right? You can be testing different email angles, different formats like plain text versus design based. Ton of things. Just make sure that you know what you're testing and you know what your goal is. Once you're done with that, select your unique metric. In this case, I'm going to show you a cool trick. So in this case, we're testing subject lines. And let's say that my test size is 30%, which means that this email with this A/B test will be only sent out to 30% of total recipients for this campaign, not your old Klaviyo profile, but recipients for this campaign. And the other 70% is going to receive the winning variation, right? That's why we have this open rate winning metric. Let's say we send this campaign, and then this is how long the test will last. Let's say we're going to select 3 hours, okay? In this case, if you're going to be sending email at 3 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to take us 3 hours to gather this data. And then at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to send the email to the remaining 70% recipients for this campaign with the winning variation, for example, this email, which is cool. It's like very cool trick to maximize your open rates per specific campaign. It doesn't have to last 2 hours, it can be 3 hours, it can be 1 or 2 hours. Usually I like to do between 2 and 4 because that's enough for us to gather data. More than that doesn't really make sense, like collecting 12 hours, because we want to send an email, for example, in the morning or in the evening, so it's not really worth it just to spend 12 hours collecting this information. In some cases it is, but usually not really. And then you proceed the same way, so just click on next and then schedule or send, and you're gonna be good to go. And that's pretty much it. That's the entire Klaviyo overview. If you still feel like you're overwhelmed or you're not making the most out of your Klaviyo account, you can book a call with me using the link in the description down below. I'm very happy to help you with your Klaviyo, whether it's campaign, setup, or just consultation. We can also do a free audit for you completely at no cost. I'm just gonna show you what are the possibilities for our account. and what we can improve. But if you're not there yet, you can watch my other videos or entire playlist where I show you how to create Klaviyo flows step by step. Thank you for watching, see you in the next one. Bye.